Hello and welcome. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a couple of things. One of them is staining the doors and then doing some trim work, and we're going to talk about what's coming up in the next couple of episodes. So the stain here is from Home Depot. It's called Golden Oak, and 1 gallon of this is about 27 bucks. Right here, what you see me doing, I'm sanding away all the little maybe imperfections or any scuff marks that happen in transport, and then all you do is just dip a rag and just go crazy and just stain the inside. That's how I do it. And then you do the door afterwards. And staining is actually fairly easy. All you have to do is just pay attention and slow it down, even though the footage is sped up, and just make sure you get all the grooves and crevices and everything in the wood, and it just changes the whole look of the door once you stain it. And this is actually, I consider staining to be easier than painting. And it's a lot more forgiving, I guess, because you can go over a spot if you miss something. And that's all it is. So every single one of you guys can do this. These doors, by the way, I bought them at a surplus store, and they were 135 bucks. If I would have bought the 6-panel ones, they would have been $125. And the reason why they are so cheap is because they might have an imperfection or two. And these doors are the ones that don't make it to Home Depot or Lowe's, because there might be a knot that fell out and they had to fill that in with glue or glue it back in there. It's just imperfection or imperfect doors that just don't make it to the big stores. And I don't have any issues with that because I can pretty much fix any of those little knickknacks and little issues, and really people don't see it unless you really look for it. And here's I'm doing something that some of you like and some of you don't like. I'm replacing the plates that the electrician put on, and I'm doing it here to match the whole house. Those are wood as well, and they are stained with the same stain as the doors and the trim is going to be, so it's going to have nice cohesive look to it. They're going to be a little bit darker though, because they are made from oak and doors, and then the trim is from a different wood, is pine or white wood. So it's going to take, each species of wood is going to take stain a little bit differently. So that's all it is, 2 screws, and then if you ever put that in, you know how some people get OCD and the screws have to line up a certain way, and that's how my brain works. So that's what I try to do. And this board here, those are 1x3s, so I'm going to walk you through it as I'm putting everything up. I'm using the pencil to space it. If you watch my previous episodes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And 1x3 lumber pricing lately has been going through the roof, absolutely through the roof. So thank goodness I caught this kind of in the middle, so I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for it. But those boards are anywhere from $3 to $4. And that is a 1x3 I'm putting on the sides, and then 1x4s will go on top. And also I'll have 1x4s as the baseboard trim as well, so it looks a little bit beefier. And these are just regular stuff that you buy off the shelf off of Home Depot or Lowe's. So it's no custom special orders, because anytime you special order something, it's going to cost you more. And then if you need another piece of it, you're going to have to wait. And here I'm measuring at the top to make sure my measurement is close, and then I have a little of overlap on each side, about 3/4 of an inch. And that's how I do my trim. And that's easy as that. So you see that? So now you have this 3D look of 1x3s on the side and then 1x4 on the top. And that's all that it takes. You just put a couple nails in. You just gotta make sure you nail into the wood that is behind it. And then now you're starting at the bottom, and that's a 1x4. And these I'm going to butt up next to each other, and then you're gonna see me do 45 cuts here in a second, how I do my corners. But here, I'm also here just massaging everything into place, because sometimes the drywall and everything is not perfect, so you got to make sure that it's in there and it's close to it, so it's got a nice finished look to it. So that's how that looks. You bang it one more time to make sure it's nice and tight, and there you go. So same thing, you see that pencil, you can see it a little bit easier. Just when you do this, just be careful because you're using a nailer, so you don't put one in your thumb. But that's all it is. So 1x3s right there. The doors were $135. The stain was $27 a gallon. And you can pretty much, a house of this size of 720 square feet, you can do this whole house with 1 gallon of stain. And that's how easy it is. So a lot of you guys can do this. It just takes time. And you just gotta make sure that your cuts are good. And just make sure that it looks good. So that pencil that I use for spacing, I use that all around. And that's the bathroom that I am working on. That's the first bathroom because this house has 2 bathrooms. So even though it's a small house of 720 square feet, it does have 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms. And see, nice and solid. Now the 1x4 goes on top. And I got a little spacer over there in my, there you go. And like I said, it's about 3/4 of an inch of an overlap. So it just looks, you know, it's got a little bit of character to it. Ran out of nails. This happens a lot. And you just pew some nails in there. And like I said, you gotta make sure where you're nailing into, because if you saw me shim this in the previous episode, there's gaps all around the doors. So you gotta make sure that you nail into the wood that's behind basically the drywall. And here, once again, massaging everything in place and putting some nails in it, and one corner is done. Now I have the nailer upside down. That's how I nail everything in, and I don't scuff up the walls, which is one of my pet peeves. I hired people before, and when they were doing something like this, they scuffed up all my walls. And I'm not kidding. It's the whole house had scuff marks from that hose, which is so ignorant, because you can just slow down, pay attention, and you don't have to scuff up anything. And that's usually how I do it. So now I just started to trim out my own houses because I don't feel like fixing, wiping, and painting my walls because somebody screwed it up. And here you're nailing at an angle to make sure you hit the bottom plate, and then if you're hitting a stud, if you know where the studs are, which usually they are by the receptacles. More cleaning. This is the 45 that I'm going to show you. See, that's a 45 because that one, I want to make sure that it looks good because this is where you come into the house. That's wood putty right there. So once you nail everything in, you put the wood putty in that where the 2 pieces meet to make sure that it looks nice and neat, and it's got a nice little cohesive look to it. And if you notice behind me, you can see granite is installed. In the next couple of episodes or 2, I'm going to show you that whole situation, and I'm going to tell you the price, because this is what this channel is all about. So I'm going to talk about the pricing of the granite, how much it was exactly. And I'm going to give you a little miniature tour of how things are looking so far. So here is just me playing around. This is kind of like taking a break almost. Also, if you notice the doors to the right, they have gold hinges. All those hinges are going to be replaced to the oil rubbed bronze color, kind of like what you see the lights hanging in the kitchen over the sink over there and over the dishwasher. That dark color, that's how the hinges are going to look. And I'm going to make sure that the door handles are also that color. And the fans that I showed you from the other episode also have some of that oil rub bronze in it. So I just want to make sure everything matches. That front door, those door handles are also temporary. That's always one of the last things I do because I have so many people coming in and out of the house. The doors, the front doors are always the last thing I do because they always get scuffed up. So I just don't want to paint the door 3, 4, 5 times. So that's the reason why I always leave it for the last thing that I do. And that door is going to be painted white just to keep it simple. So here's the block that I'm putting, that little piece in that corner right there next to the door. And then we're going to nail in that big piece that you see right there also, which is cut at a 45. And once again, try to watch the hose so you don't scuff up your walls. And just put some nails in it. and try to nail on an angle going down so you're hitting the bottom plate. So even if you don't hit the studs, at least you're hitting the bottom plate. And worst case scenario, later in time, you can always go in there and adjust it. You can put more nails into it, so it's no big deal if you see something that kind of goes away from the wall because you missed a 2x4. And this is what I want to show you on this channel. All of this that I'm doing, you guys can do. So this is not that bad. You just gotta get some tools. That Porter Gable compressor that you see behind me, I originally bought that for like 160 bucks. That miter saw that you see, Makita, that was a little bit over 300. I can't remember the exact price. The fan is 20 bucks. That rickety table that I got, I don't know, that was like 10, 15 bucks. So it doesn't have to be a fortune. And you can get a lot of used tools at pawn shops, by the way, at like record low pricing. So keep that in mind as well. That's one of the best things you can do. Buy some tools and practice. Practice nailing things and putting things together if you want to build yourself a house. And here is just putting up the plate. You get up close and personal kind of thing. My earplugs are in. That's what you see in the white stuff that you see in my ears. I had a headache this whole week and then some, and a pretty bad one, so that was not fun. And that's putting more of those things. Those are, by the way, $5, $6, $7, $8 a piece, so they are expensive. The ones that I took off, those are about 99 cents a piece, so they are cheap. These things are very, very expensive, but I just like how it looks. And as I said, some people like it, some people don't, but I love how this looks, and that's the reason why I do it.